Welcome to The Wedding Wear with Officiating by Amanda. An FAQ episode. Hello, friends and listeners. Welcome back to The Wedding Wear, a podcast where we enjoy weddings, we officiate them, we listen, we don't judge, we laugh, we learn, and today we answer your questions. Based on this week's previous episode, The Wedding Wear, what's the process? I realized something. You probably have follow-up questions like most of my couples do, and honestly, you should. So that's what we're going to cover today. This is your official Officiant FAQ, things couples ask me all the time, things that they don't ask me but probably should, and a few other elements that might surprise you. So let's get into it. When should we book an officiant? Fantastic question. Get it all the time. And the answer is it varies. It varies based on what you are looking for and how quick you are needing to book and plan things, as well as what the officiant market is in your area. So I would say you need to book earlier than you think, but not wildly so. For a formal ceremony, so something lasting anywhere between 10 minutes up and above an hour, you have a venue, you have a date, you have a large guest list. If you've already started putting those pieces together, officiant should be booked between 9 months and a year out, especially if you were looking at a fall or a spring wedding in my neck of the woods, which is Northeast Pennsylvania. Now, if you are in a market that's more saturated with officiants, you can probably go a little less time, like 6 months. But what happens, especially for fall and spring, is you run into everybody's already booked. So better to err on the side of caution and be able to have more conversations and look at more officiants than be limited to just who's available. I like to book between 6 months to 1 year out from a wedding for a formal ceremony. Gives me a lot of good timing and spacing, and also time for you as a couple to focus on other priorities in the months that we have leading up, so that when I tap back in at 2 months, everything else is solved. And you didn't really need me to solve some of the things. As much as I love being asked, what color napkins should we have at our table? Not really my bailiwick. So couples who book a little too close bring all of their current questions to the table as well. If you are doing an elopement, something paperwork based, you can get away with a shorter time frame. And I always say, if you have flexibility, I can have availability. So if you're just looking for someone to sign a license, you kind of don't care a day, we can do a lot with that. As soon as you need to consider other vendors or contracts or things, you're going to want to add time. I would almost say that for every other vendor you're getting, add a month into the process. So if you've got caterer, photographer, DJ, venue, flowers, cake, that's 6. Yep, 6 months out, you should book an officiant. If you really are just going with the two of you hiking in the woods, you can get away with a month or less. All this to say is you don't need to book an officiant the same day you get engaged, but the more that you want out of your ceremony is the sooner that you have to book. Another question, do we really need a consult call? So I covered this quite a bit in What's the Process, but short answer, yes. For a lot of different reasons, because at the end of the day, this isn't just a transaction. This is relationship building. This is communication. This is marketing, networking, negotiation, This is making sure that whoever you have as a vendor, myself or anybody else, hears you and what your needs are and is able to reiterate them to you in a formal contract. If you don't do a consult call, you really are just kind of picking your options out of a booklet. And maybe that's what you want. Maybe you really just want to select your options. But for something as integral as the ceremony, you want a little bit more in most cases. The other thing too, and this is more from a vendor side, why I prefer consult calls, is it reiterates that we are real people. The number of couples I've had who have not done consult calls and been actual real people looking to really book services and not a scam are very slim. It is a huge, huge red flag of mine when I have someone looking for a more formal wedding package that just goes straight off of the website, emails and says, I want this package on this date at this time. How do I pay you? It's like, slow your horses. Don't we get a chance to talk? Are you real? Let's make sure that I am able to really provide for you the service that you need instead of you just kind of saying what you think you need. There's a balancing act there. And I always get a little leery when people are very adamant on not doing a consult call. And sometimes it's, again, we're out of town, out of country, timing doesn't work out, or really we are doing a paperwork package. No need to get in the weeds on that. But for anything more than an elopement, yeah, it's to understand your vision. It's to make sure that we are vibing and copacetic, and it's to make sure that I am going to be the right fit for your day, both in terms of personality, content, cost, timing, schedule, all of that. It's important. And I know you've got a lot of other consultations to do, and mine doesn't come with free food, unfortunately. But it really is no stress, no timeline. You don't have to pay for a consult call with me. It's just a conversation. And it happens in a little more time than what we might normally have to chat at an expo or, a phone call at 2:00 in the afternoon when I'm working my normal day. So it just gives us a little more time. Oh, this is a good one. What if we don't know what we want yet? Totally fine. I would recommend, and I do have this go out with every consult call that I schedule, kind of my, questions to think about before you get on the call that are just some basics like how long do you want the ceremony? Because there is a big difference in the length of time as well as in the cost between a 5-minute ceremony and a 50-minute ceremony. But you don't have to be specific to say we want it to run 15 minutes and 28 seconds. No. There should be some pre-conversation between you and your spouse before you even get in the officiant hunt about what you want for a ceremony, whether you want very traditional or very religious, whether you want some laughter, some fun, some humor, some personal takes. If you haven't been to a wedding, personally, I recommend watching some movies or TV shows and get a feel for how they've structured weddings and how you might like that or not like that for your own day. Those can be some great jumping off points. But really, in our consult call, we just need some big bullet points. Length of time, special content requests. And you don't even have to have them finalized. It would be, hey, we're interested in unity. We might do unity. I'll put it into the quote. And if while you're considering the quote, you decide you do want it or don't want it, we can strike it out. If you decide while looking at the quote that you definitely do want it and it needs to be hand fasting ceremony, we can make sure that that's added in. We have some more time outside of the conversation, but the conversation shouldn't be the very first time that you are ever thinking of these. So I would say come into the call with 50% preparation, Just enough that you and your spouse are on the same wavelength, honestly. You don't have to have everything figured out for the ceremony, but just come with enough to know what you both want together. And we'll go and figure out the rest from there and fine tune it and really hammer down what we want. Question number 4, can we write our own vows? Yes. With a full ceremony, we've got the time. Write your own vows. If you want help in writing them or practice in reading them over, I'm more than happy to be on board for that. If you are looking to do an elopement or a paperwork elopement, we can still do your own vows. We just have to add in a little more time to make sure that they are going to fit within the ceremony, because you might have only booked to say, like, Amanda, we need you there for 5 minutes. But if you guys were planning to talk for all the 5 minutes, where does the ceremony part fit in? So a little bit to get figured out with that. But yes, you will never hear me say no about doing your own vows. And we can structure them a lot of different ways too. You can do everything from sharing them by just handing each other the piece of paper that they're written on and you both read silently. You can read them out loud to each other. We can do back and forth vow volleys that are customized. We could take traditional vows as the base and route them out from there. We can do prompts and structures and editing, and whatever you want, we can make happen. And it should feel like you, not like something you were told to do, which is a lot of times where couples fall with their own vows, is one spouse wants to write and read their own vows and the other does not. So coming up with that good compromise of what might this look like so that both of us feel like it is us. Question number 5, what makes a wedding legally into a marriage? It's a really great question, and it's important. It's the most important thing I do in the whole entire day. So you need a valid marriage license, so issued by the county, sometimes that you are residing in, sometimes that you are getting married in. Every state's different. You need an officiant who is authorized to perform marriages in that state or county or municipality, depending on how specific it gets. There are some times where you will need witnesses. Not all the time. Pennsylvania does not require witnesses, but most states have at least one witness required. And then we need 3 legal lines said within the body of the ceremony. The most important of those lines being your declaration of intent, which is the I do's. Those have to be given willingly and soberly. So can't hold a gun to your back and say the line, say the line. And you also can't have a large amount of intoxication or else it might not be able to be accepted. Those, along with some other special legal, I call it the evil twin clause, by saying we're here today for the marriage of these 2 people. Well, if one of you is pretending to be that person and you're not really that person, that's what nullifies the whole thing. And then the official pronouncement by the power vested in me, it is so declared, that along with a signature. Outside of those legal elements, and again, some of them are different in different places, that's it. You can do whatever else you want. As you heard, I could get done a lot of that in a few minutes. So I think my quickest wedding has been 1.5 minutes. You can have something long, short. You could have religious or themed, Star Wars or Harry Potter, whatever you want. As long as we've got those legal elements presented, you're good. And I recommend that you listen to the wedding where it was a wedding, but it wasn't a marriage, to see about times where we didn't make it legal. We just did a commitment ceremony, a celebration of love kind of wedding. Question 6. Do you help with rehearsal? This is a great question. So I always have rehearsal as an option. However, I have 3 different ways that appears, and it depends on what package you go with, what your bridal party composition is, what my schedule is, a few different things that might make sense for which one you get over the other. So I have a Zoom rehearsal option, which is just me and the couple. We get on 48 hours before the wedding. and talk through some of the key points, go over the script, go over different actions. And it's not me guiding the bridal party members in any way, shape, or form or giving them cues. I can do some of that on day of, but it's also a little hard when I'm already down at the end of the aisle. I like to tell people I need to be thought of as a kindergarten teacher. The parent, which would be your day coordinator or a venue coordinator or whoever the ringleader is of your bridal party, they're like the parent. They get everyone lined up, they get their shoes on, they get them ready. I'm already there in the classroom. You drop your kid off with me. I then will make sure that they are good throughout the entire school day. And then at pickup, I return them to you. I will send them back out. But from before school and after school, I'm not able to really have that under my bailiwick. I have rehearsals that are pending availability. So that means we kind of leave it up in the air. You might have a rehearsal set, but we don't know how timing will work out with my schedule, or we don't know if all of your bridal party members are going to be able to make it, that it might be worth it for us to be in person. So we kind of leave it at a 50-50. I could be either in person or on Zoom until we get 2 months out from the wedding. If I'm not able to be in person, we go with the Zoom option. But if I am in person, we go with the final kind of version of rehearsal, which is an in-person rehearsal. I would be there alongside whoever else you have for coordinating. And there have been times where I've been the only coordinator, so I kind of organize everybody and try to get them ready for their school day, to my previous analogy, as best I can. And then it feels a little unnerving because it's like I get the kids dressed and ready and I leave them behind in the house with an alarm clock set and say, please make sure you get on the bus. I have to go to work now. But when that happens, I work to really give them some great cues on when they're supposed to walk so that they feel comfortable and confident even without me back there to let them fly the nest. And then I meet them down at the end of the aisle. It's really important to know that not every wedding needs a rehearsal or a formal rehearsal. A lot can be done on Zoom. A lot can be done with quick walkthroughs on the day of the wedding. Just something to think about is, what is the makeup of your bridal party? Have they all been in weddings before? How nervous you guys are, or how many elements we have going in the ceremony? How long the ceremony is as well. If you only have a 10-minute ceremony, you likely don't need a lot of rehearsing. It's going to be pretty cut and dry. And a lot more could be figured out if you do or don't have a coordinator or somebody else helping to corral. That's one of the biggest things that is taken care of at rehearsals. It's not so much on the officiant end of, what are you going to say? It's instead, where does everybody stand? Which again is more the coordinator role or the bridal party and the couples say versus me. I'll tell you what was done typically or traditionally, but it's not really my bailiwick. What happens if something goes wrong? A very real question, and there's a lot of ways I have seen wrong be defined. Everything from a flower girl forgot to throw down her petals to we started an hour late. Many different scenarios there. So unless there's a real specific one that I would go in detail on how I would address it, you just have to have trust and faith in the experiences that I have. Something will go slightly off plan. It always does. It always will. It's okay. I am always adapting and problem solving, keeping things moving and working to keep everything calm. I like to say I'm very duck-like. On the surface, I'm gliding. My feet are always going a mile a minute underneath the surface. So we take care of a lot of things. Weather changes on a dime, delays, missing people, last-minute nerves, very drunken groomsmen, fights with bridesmaids. Been there, done that. It's all okay. I'm good in my role. I will only help others put on their face mask after my own is on, but I will be around to help others. So we'll get it all done, and whatever you want to have happen, we will make sure that we get it as close to that as possible. Do you stay for the reception? Usually, no, I don't. Not anymore. I used to back when I first started. I was in a very will work for food era and loved staying for the receptions, but it it's a little different nowadays, so I really don't stay unless I have a role that you need me to serve, like performing a blessing or the toast or speech coordination. If I know the couple personally, or if there's a specific reason, like significantly out of town, hours and hours away, where, yeah, this would need to be dinner. This would be where we need to make sure that I eat a little something before I go. The main focus that I have is your ceremony. And once that's done, I kind of like to put back on my own hat and get back to my own life because I don't need to be any more in your day. But every once in a while, I stick around. And if you've listened to some episodes, well, you've seen how that has gone. I've given drunken blessings at weddings because I didn't think I was staying for that role. I thought I was staying for the party, but I was wrong. I've had ones where I've witnessed fights, pretty much saw the divorce start of the wedding. And I've had times where you're the odd person out. You are the hired vendor. And while all the other vendors there still for the reception are still working, still have a role to fill, my work is done. So it's an interesting space to be in, and I'm often not there. However, if you're insistent, I won't turn it down offhand. Let me look at my calendar. Let me look and see what's feasible in my own realm. But oftentimes I'm getting back home. My husband doesn't really feed himself all that often, so I got to make sure he's fed. And come this fall, I'll have a baby that will definitely need me. So chances are you don't need to put an extra plate down for me at the reception. I appreciate the offer, but I'm good. What makes you different from other officiants? I really, really like this question, and it makes me smile. And I won't speak to exactly what other officiants do. I'm not going to go sling mud or say, well, some of the other people do. So I'll just kind of tell you what I like about the work that I do. I pride myself on being personable, affordable, and professional. I don't just show up and read the words. I work to get to know you, work to put special pieces in so that you guys all know, why you're doing this. Everyone present can celebrate a little bit and it doesn't feel legal. It doesn't feel cookie cutter. If you don't want it to feel uber traditional, we won't make it that way. I want you to look back on your wedding and say, every piece had bits of us in it. It fit us without you having to be the one to fully write your script, without you having to be the one to stress over which hand the ring goes on. Like, just let me take care of it. I've got it. I will guide you. I like to tell people it's like a puppet show. I'm the puppeteer. Just breathe while you're up there. That's the only thing I can't do for you or instruct you to do as easily. So just breathe. And I don't just stroll in. I get places ahead of time. I like to practice. I rehearse a lot. I want to make sure that delivery and execution is exactly where it needs to be. I like that I bring humor and situational occurrences to wedding ceremonies because that's also what makes the day special and about you. You can't say, oh, it's a beautiful day if it's gray and pouring down rain, but we can say other things. And so I'm flexible and can adjust on a dime to making changes that you might want. The other thing I do, I call it the Minister Plus. I'm sure that others step into the role, but I like to think that I do it a lot. And that is helping out however I can, whether that is giving ideas for unity ceremonies and how to incorporate family members into it, whether it is personalizing elements for the flower girl so that she feels included in the day, like making sure everyone claps for her when she gets down the aisle, helping out when things might go sideways, whether that's with me or with other vendors, just helping however I can. Definitely listen to the episode of I Had to Be a Bartender. You'll understand what I mean by that. And caring about you and your day just beyond the fact that I'm a hired vendor. So that's what makes me, I think, stand out. Whether that is truly a difference from other officiants or just, what I think of myself, I'll leave for you to figure out. So those are some of the common questions. And if there's a few that you thought you'd hear, please ask them. I would love to do another one of these again. If you're in the middle of planning a wedding or you know somebody who is, just remember that you don't have to have everything figured out. You just have to take the next step and talk to the professionals who can help you figure everything out. But at the end of the day, it still needs to be your wedding and what you want. I'll have an episode probably sometime this summer about a couple who was continuously told no, that they couldn't have what they were hoping for with their wedding. And they ended up switching officiant, venue, a whole bunch of stuff in less than 24 hours because it got to be too much and it didn't look or reflect them anymore. And that's very sad. If you are at the step of reaching out because you are in the right time frame for planning officiants for your wedding, please call me. Let's chat. Let's do a consult. If I can't help you, I can help find somebody who can. Thank you so much for listening in. This was our bonus FAQ kind of question, and please make sure you send them any questions you may have my way. Until next time, this has been Amanda. Thank you for listening to The Wedding Wear with Officiating by Amanda. I hope you enjoyed today's episode and found some inspiration or insight for your own special day. This podcast is hosted on Buzzsprout and can be found on all major platforms. If you haven't already, please subscribe, like, comment, and share to help us reach even more listeners who might laugh a little at The Wedding Wear. For the links referenced in the show, visit Linktree at Officiating by Amanda. You can also follow the business on Facebook, Wedding Wire, and The Knot to stay up to date on everything going on. If you have a question you'd like me to answer on the podcast, just send an email to theweddingwearpodcast@gmail.com. And if you're ready to inquire about officiating services for your own big day, you can reach me at officiatingbyamanda@gmail.com. Thank you so much for tuning in, and until next time, this has been Amanda.